Hello everyone, welcome to the event digital class. So in today's class we will continue the bus concept, and in the previous lecture I have discussed about synchronous bus. In today's lecture we will discuss about asynchronous bus. So what is the difference? In the synchronous bus we use same clock signal to transfer the master and the slave, and also you can say it in the other word that master and slave uses one clock cycle to perform the data transfer. Okay, so let's take an example that how the asynchronous protocol works. Okay, in the synchronous we use the concept of timetable, and I have already placed in by using the synchronous protocol. You can go through my previous lecture. And when late we don't have any perfect timetable, and the lecturer wants to give some information to the student about the class, then what the teacher will do, that he or she will put the time or you can say he will share the information of the class with the students either by the email ID or by the WhatsApp groups. Okay, and there may be some students which have either email ID or WhatsApp or both. Okay, and after getting the reply from the students like okay done sir or yes sir like that, then the lecturer will confirm that the students received the information so that the class can be performed at that time. Okay, so in this there is a signal, or you can say there is a message which is shared among all the students by different paths. Okay, so that is the concept of asynchronous buses. That means any student can receive that message at any point of time. That doesn't mean that every student has to receive that message at a single point of time like timetable. Okay, but every student shares that single message but at different devices and also at different time. So that is the concept of asynchronous bus. Okay, so we'll discuss about these asynchronous buses in today's lecture. So there are no fixed clock cycles in asynchronous buses. Handshaking is used instead. I will discuss that handshaking in the figure. Then the master asserts the data ready line. Here you can see in this figure. Here is point 1, point 2, 3, 4 like this. Okay, so we'll discuss about these points one after another. So the master asserts the data ready line in the point 1 in the figure until it sees a data accept signal. Okay, so that here you can see in the point 1, so the data ready signal will be given by the master, and this is the data bus, and you can say here the data is flows in this data bus. So when data is ready, and when the data is ready, then data accept signal will be generated. When the slave sees the data ready signal, it will accept the data accept line. Okay, and it is in the point 2 of this figure. This is basically the asynchronous bus timing using handshaking protocol. So the data ready signal is generated by the master, and after seeing that the data ready signal is generated by the master, then the slave generates another signal, that is our data accept. Okay, then the rising of the data accept line will trigger the falling of the data ready line and the removal of data from the bus. That means here as you can see, when this line will in the rising edge, that means this line will be in the falling edge. Okay, that means when the data is accepted by the slave, then the master has to remove that data from the data line so that it can send another data by using that line. Then the falling of the data ready line in the point 3 in the figure will trigger the falling of the data accept line. Okay, so here you can see, so the falling of the data ready line is also here the falling of data accept line. So it is the point 3 and point 4. So this handshaking, which is called fully interlocked, is repeated until the data is completely transferred. So these falling and rising of the data lines will be continued up to the data transfer is completed. So here you can see, here we transfer 3 data. So first data is transferred by generating the data ready by the master, and then when the data is ready, then the slave has to accept that data. That's why it will generate another signal, that is data accept. So when data accept signal is ready, that means the slave is accepting the data, then after accepting the data will be removed from the data lines, and then after that another data will be transferred here, as you can see. So data ready signal will be transferred first, and then after some period of time data accept signal will be generated by the slave. So there is a time gap of sending the data ready signal and also the data accept signal, and this scenario will be repeated up to this whole data is transferred between the master and the slave. Then asynchronous bus is appropriate for different speed devices, and asynchronous bus has no system clock. As I have discussed in the synchronous bus, that when we connect different speed devices with the synchronous bus, then the speed of the bus is calculated by assessing the slowest device. But here the asynchronous bus is appropriate for all type of speed devices, or you can say different speed devices also. And as there is no system clock, that means there is no particular clock signals on the basis of which we have to transfer the data. So that's why the asynchronous bus is appropriate. And then handshaking is done to properly conduct the transmission of data between the sender and the receiver. So handshaking is basically a protocol which follows the rules and the regulations for performing the data transmission between the sender and the receiver. And when the data is ready by the master, that means as you can see in the figure that when the data ready signal is transmitted by the master, then after some period of time, after getting that signal at the slave point, then the slave generates another signal, that is data acceptance. So that is called as handshaking. That means both are connected to each other, but they are not using same clock signal. They may be performed in different clock cycles, but one is dependent on one follows another. So that is the concept of handshaking protocol which we use to perform the data transfer in the asynchronous buses. Okay. So let's go to some other details about the asynchronous buses. Then the process is illustrated in the following figure. For example, is an asynchronous read operation. Here you can see, so this is the asynchronous bus, or you can say this is the operation of input operation or read operation, you can say, by using the asynchronous protocol. So in an asynchronous read operation, the bus master puts the address and control signals on the bus and then asserts a synchronization signal. So here you can see that the address and the command, let the command here is our read operation. So control will be sent for the read operation and that will be transmitted in T0 time. Then here is the signal to transmit the data, and here we transmit the address and command, and here is the signal which gives the idea about the master is ready and slave is ready. Then the synchronization signal from the master promotes the slave to get synchronized, and once it has accessed the data, it asserts its own synchronization signal. That means here master ready signal is transmitted, and after getting the master ready signal, that means the slave gets the message or it gets the signal that master is ready to perform the data transfer. So then slave gives the acknowledgement to the master that I am also ready and now we can perform the data transfer between us. So then slave ready signal will be activated. Here you can see by raising the signal, it gives the acknowledgement to the master. Okay. So here as you can see, when the master ready signal is activated, and then after getting this, the slave ready signal is also activated. That means one signal's performance, or you can say the operation or the changes in one signal affects the changes in another signal. So that is the concept of handshaking. And then the master then deasserts its synchronization signal, which indicates to the slave that the master has read the data. That means after getting the signal that the slave is ready to perform the data transfer, then the slave transfers the data, and then after getting that data, the master ready signal will be deactivated, and then the data, here you can see the T3. Okay, that means after getting the acknowledgement from the slave ready or slave device, and also the data is available in the data line, then the master ready signal will be deactivated from the signal line, and it is in the let T3. Then next operation is our, note that there is no clock, and that starting and ending of the data transfer are indicated by special synchronization signals. Here you can see there is no clock cycles like in the synchronous bus. That means clock cycles are basically in the form of square sections, and here there is nothing like that in the diagram. So whenever the address and command is transferred and the data is transferred, then after completion of the data transfer, then the signal will be completed, or you can say the operation is completed. Then an asynchronous communication protocol can be considered as a pair of finite state machine that operates in such a way that one finite state machine does not proceed until the other finite state machine has reached a certain state. So that is the communication, or that is the example that one finite state machine depends on the operation of another finite state machine. Okay. So the asynchronous protocol can be also considered as a pair of finite state machines. That means one finite state machine can operate in such a way that another finite state machine does not proceed until it clears the state, or you can say until one finite state machine reaches to a certain state. Okay. Here you can see there are the time periods, and within these time periods the data transfer is completed. That means in the time period of T0, the master sends the address and the command that whether it has to perform the read operation or write operation. Okay. Then this will be transmitted in the address and command lines, then the data. Then master ready signal will be transmitted late in the time T1. Then one question arises that why this time period? That means why the master does not send this master ready signal with the address and command lines in a single line? The answer is that when the slave will get the message from the master, that means first it has to receive the address and the command, and then it has to receive the master ready signal. Okay. But if we transfer this in a single signal, then the slave will get first this master ready signal and then it will receive this. Okay. So which will arise to a problem, or which is beyond the protocol. So that's why after generating the address and command lines and the data lines, after some time period the master ready signal will be generated. And here you can see in the time period T2, the slave ready signal will be generated, and this time gap T1 and T2 is the delay. That means the slave gets this master ready signal, okay. And then after some period of time, that means in the T3, the master receives the acknowledgement from the slave side. That means the slave is ready to perform the data operations. Then it will remove the master ready signal, then it will collect the data, and then in the T4 the data is stored, and then address and command will be cleared. That means the address and command which is flows in the address and command line, that will be deleted so that other device can use that line, okay. And after completion of the data transfer, the slave ready signal will be removed from the line. Then in the T5, that is the last time period of the data transfer. So this is the BOS cycle, that means from the T0 to the T5 is the asynchronous BOS cycle. So this period is generated by differentiating this T5 minus T0. So this is the complete clock cycles we will needed to perform the data transfer by using the asynchronous protocol. Then next one is our how the asynchronous buses is differentiated from the synchronous buses. So synchronous buses are typically faster than asynchronous buses because there is no overhead to establish a time reference for each transaction. As you can see here that for every transaction, or here transaction means from one state to another state, there is a time period, a time gap. But in the synchronous buses there is nothing like that, or it performs in a clock cycle manner. Either the data transfer takes place in a rising edge or in the falling edge, not in between the level. Okay, so that's why the data transfer is faster in synchronous buses than the asynchronous buses. And another reason that helps the synchronous bus to operate fast is that the bus protocol is predetermined and very little logic is involved in implementing the finite state machine. As I have discussed that the state of one finite state machine depends on the operations performed by the another finite state machine. So that is also one reason which helps the synchronous bus to operate fast than the asynchronous bus protocol. And however, the synchronous buses are affected by clock skew, and that cannot be very long. Skew means, here you can see, skew technique means this, that means if the master will transmit the address, command, data and master ready signal in a same line, then the slave may get this master ready signal fast, and after some period of time it may get the address and command. So that is the concept of skew. And then however, the synchronous bus are affected by the clock skew, as both the master and slave uses same clock cycle. But asynchronous buses work well even when they are long, because clock skew problems do not affect them. As the master and slave uses different clock cycles, then the skew problem can be overcome in the concept of asynchronous buses. Thus, asynchronous buses can handle longer physical distance and higher number of devices. So, by overcoming these skew problems, asynchronous buses can be used to cover longer physical distance and higher number of devices. As we know that asynchronous buses is appropriate to perform the data transfer in different speed devices. Okay, and then processor memory buses are typically synchronous because the devices connected to the bus are fast and are small in number and are located in close proximity. As we have discussed that the asynchronous buses are appropriate for longer distance and also to accommodate higher number of devices, but we know that the computer device is attached with a limited number of devices, and also the devices which are connected to the computer that is located in the peripherals. That means the distance between the peripherals and the system can be minimized, and also the devices which are connected to the bus, that has to be faster. That's why the processor and memory buses are typically uses the synchronous protocol, and then input output buses are typically asynchronous because many peripherals needed only slow data rates. As I have discussed that the components inside the processor and memory are the components or the devices which are used to perform the data transfer between the processor and memory, that has to be in the synchronous protocol, but the data transfer between the input output devices and the system, that will be use the asynchronous protocol, because there may be some peripherals which uses or which prefers the slow data rates, and also there may be some device which is far away from the system. That's why we prefer the asynchronous protocol when we use the input output devices, but we prefer the synchronous protocol when we transfer or we use the buses in the concept of processor and the memory transfer. Okay. So this is all about the asynchronous buses, and I have discussed the difference between the asynchronous buses and synchronous buses, and where we will prefer the asynchronous bus and where we will prefer the synchronous bus. So if you have any doubt, you can give it in the comment section. Till then, keep watching. Thank you.